I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that was gonna happen every time. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so happy to have you here too, Jen, for our new show today called New to Me, Neat to You. A show where we talk about things that we love, nostalgia, video games, what we grew up with, things that might be neat to me, but it could be new to you. And we're here to share in that joy. Hi, Jen. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Ash. One thing I did notice real quick, we're probably going to tweak some of the coloring.
Gotcha. Okay. I will fix that.
I'll talk right now while you're going ahead and tweaking that a little bit. I'm really excited for this because this is a project we've been talking about, gosh, almost 3 months, but we've been putting it into practice about 2 months time now of going about the idea of wanting to present this idea of, obviously, a lot of us are big time retro fans between Ash's channel, between my channel, and our communities overall. And this is just an exciting way where we could talk about stuff that we find fascinating. Hopefully you do too out there. And at the same time, even just by us talking about little intricate things that we found, it's really cool that even stuff just before literally we went live, Ash was bringing up stuff. I'm like, I didn't even know that about that game. And just, it's so cool, all the stuff we've been learning just by trying to do this type of format and getting ready for it.
Yep. There were so many things I was learning about my game that I was like, I never would have known. And by the way, is it fixed? Is it good for you? Better?
Let's
awesome.
If I smile? All right, cool, good.
Perfect. Okay. Sure. This whole series is going to be dedicated to, we're going to talk about a game each. We're going to talk about what we love about it, why we chose the game, things about the music, the development, the art, the controls of the game, everything, from aesthetics to like science to like, personal stories about these kinds of things. And hopefully you all will have some things that you share in the reasons why you love these games, and maybe even learn some things, because I definitely learned some things along the way, which was really, really cool, like Jen was saying. So yep. That's the aim of the show. That's why we kind of wanted to do this and start this off and just have a place where we can connect through nostalgia in a different way. So what games did we choose today, Jen?
Awesome. So what we first want to do is kind of pick a format for what type of genre do we want to tackle per episode.
Yeah.
And today's one that we decided to tackle were platformers.
Yes.
So I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite games. And it's actually the first game I ever learned to decide to speedrun, which was Mega Man 2.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, I know a favorite platformer for you. You were thinking, you know what? I don't know if I necessarily want to go with a hardcore classic here. I'm thinking maybe I want to go with a hidden gem for some people. And you chose one of my mother's favorite games of all time, which is Wizards and Warriors.
Yup. Yes.
The soundtrack is so good.
So good. And I think for me, this was a really personal game that I loved, ever since I was a kid. So this was a really good one. And I love that you chose Mega Man 2 because that game was so fun. And out of all the Mega Mans I've ever beaten, which was not many, literally 3, this is one of them. So
perfect. Okay, good.
We can have a conversation about this. That would be really
excellent.
Good. Yeah.
Wait, I haven't gone past 3 of these levels. I don't really know much more. What are you talking about, man? No, good. I'm glad that you've gotten a chance to beat this one, rightfully so.
Exactly. So it should be a good conversation. So we'll start it off. We'll start with Wizards and Warriors. So let's talk about the controls of this game. How does this game play? I really love this game because it's super simple controls. In fact, I even brought my NES controller, my Switch one, so you all could see. Wizards and Warriors, super basic controls, right? You move, I think B is jump and A is attack. Which, you know what's funny? When I was looking this up in the manual has the controller written wrong. They put the A button on this side and the B button on that side. And I was like, way to go. Yeah, if I was a kid and I was reading this manual, I would have been so confused. aren't these professionals? Like, what are they doing? But
Right.
so the cool thing about this is that even though the controls are simple, there's so much to it. So first of all, I didn't even know that the character's name is
Warrior, right?
No, he actually has a name. He actually has a name. Wait, I swear to you, I know it. I did do my research. I promise.
She's building the suspense on this. I wanted to know too.
I know.
She's been holding out on me, folks. So we're all in the same boat here. We're going to eventually learn what this name is.
Kuros. His name is Kuros, and his sword has a name too. But I don't know if I wrote that down. I might have. It might be somewhere in my notes. But so in the game, like, you can collect potions that can give you invincibility. You can collect potions that give you that make you jump higher. You can get potions that make you go faster. There's also like items within the game, like you'll see on the screen here, like there's like a boot and there's like a feather, which is like feather fall. Now, the actual controls of the game is like some parts is like super slippery, because in each cave, each level, there's seven different levels. I probably should have like looked at my notes when I was talking about this at first. There's 7 different levels, and each level, like, there's a lava level, there's an ice cave, there's the forest, there's like there's a part inside of trees. Like you see here how he's like levitating and stuff. Like, each section has like a different vibe and a feel. So like in the lava level, like once you touch the ground, like you can lose life because you can like burn up. But then there's like the ice level where you can slip on the cave. And I think the hardest part for me in this is like some of the platforming and the jumping, because like you see here in like the tree part, when he's jumping, like sometimes like the box, so when you jump like from platform to platform, like if you're not like pixel perfect, like you will miss and you will fall, and then you will have to do the whole thing over again.
Oh, I hated that so much.
Like, the controls are cool, but there's some parts of it that you're just like, wait a minute, this is like super frustrating. And I will say that like the hitboxes for like the bosses are actually not that bad either. So there's a boss that you have to fight where you're like fighting like a giant bat, and it breaks up into like smaller bats every time you hit it. That one is like, I feel like the hitbox for that is like kind of like wonky, where like it's like it's easier for you to get hit. But then like the skull one is not so bad, or like there's another one where you have to fight like a skeleton, and that one's not so bad. The keys, there's keys to collect when you're going through all the different levels, and that's a cool part of the gameplay. It's like you have to collect the keys in order to get through like the different doors, and the keys also correspond to, as you see here, like there's different treasure chests that are different colors. Certain treasure chests will have like diamonds, or certain treasure chests will have like items that you can use. And you actually need to collect the diamonds to get through a part of the game. Part of the lore is that there's another like knight that's like the exact same, he looks the exact same as you, and he doesn't like take the gems from you, but he doesn't let you pass unless you have enough gems. There's a lot going on. Like, it seems like a simple game, but there is a lot going on with this. So
it's funny you said, because I remember that growing up, that there's some of those hidden gem aspects of it where you were forced to kind of play through it a couple of times, because you would get to a part like what you just described, and you're like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly.
And, well, you had to go back and start over because you need the gems, because there's certain places you couldn't get enough collected in time if you weren't already knowing I should be collecting those.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm trying to think of it now. Like, for some reason, I thought that there was like a time aspect to this game, but I don't think there is. But there is an aspect where if your life is really low, it has that dreaded beep. And you're just like, oh my God, like, please. Like, the good thing is, though, is that if you get killed, like if you lose all your life, like, and you start the game over, it's not so unforgiving that it makes you start from the beginning, like some games we play.
Yes, good point.
But
you gotta keep on torturing yourself if you would like to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've got so far for controls and gameplay. I mean, there's so many cool things. Oh, also, some things that I found out while playing this game that I didn't know as a kid was that there were like hidden doors. Because the last time I played it, there was a hidden door. I think it was like in the ice cave. And I was like, wait a minute. This game has like hidden sections? Like what?
What? Wait, what?
Yeah. So there's that. There's that. That's what I got so far.
That's awesome though. I mean, and here I love what the on the screen currently. This was the level that actually was the most frustrating for me because the blocks will move in and out, so you had to time it to make sure you didn't stay on them too long, otherwise your platform would just disappear from under you.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I remember this big time.
And there's some that will move in and out, and then there's some that are static. And I think for me, like the most annoying part about this was like the enemies that are climbing up on the wall as you're moving up, because like again, like one of the things about this game is like when you get hit, if you get hit, I don't necessarily think that there's knockback per se, like in Castlevania or like other games like that. But if you fall, like 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to have to fall all the way down to the bottom and then have to do it again. It's like kind of hard to catch your step once you like make a mistake like that.
That's actually perfectly said, because there's like that was actually one of the skills I remember developing after I don't know how many countless attempts of playing the game. You're like, okay, cool. At least I didn't fall to the bottom.
Yes, exactly. If you can catch yourself, especially in like the tree sections, you're just like, oh my God, because like the jumping part is just like so like, why?
Why is this so difficult?
Yeah.
Everything else is already difficult enough. Oh, now my life is low and the beeping while I'm falling.
I know, I can't.
Absolutely.
Can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. I talked about the feather fall cape. There's also like a cool invincibility cloak. I don't think I've ever found all the items, because according to the booklet, there was like a scroll and there was like some other items that I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even know that this was in here. I think I have it pulled up here. Like there was, the dagger. The dagger is really, really cool. Like if you can find that in the game, it makes life so much easier. I actually prefer the dagger over the axe right now. Well, I guess they kind of work similar, but I don't know. I always like the dagger better. And then there are wands in the game too. So
yes,
like
the wand, absolutely.
There's like a fire wand and there's an ice wand. Although I don't think I've ever found the ice wand.
I was gonna say, I didn't know there was an ice one. I always just thought it was just the one spell. So that's really cool to learn already. Again, for a game I played countless times, that there is multiple wands on display.
Yeah, it's called the Wand of Wonder. That's the ice one. And then the Staff of Power is the fire one.
Okay. The Staff of Power sounds familiar, definitely. Neat.
Yeah.
Well, I know I got some physics to talk about for Mega Man 2.
Oh, man.
If we want. Folks, when it comes to this game right here, Capcom, I'll only talk about this part a little bit because we'll talk about this and cover a little bit later in our discussions. But this game was a passion project, as a lot of people probably know, but in case you didn't know, Mega Man 1 failed miserably in the States. And that was when that was coming out. That was in the 80s, and it was trying to make a recovery in the market, because in the 70s, terrible video games were being put out, and there was no way that they were trying to make sure that wasn't happening. So people really lost faith that there was any good games out there. They were just spending money and having no way of recomping this money for really bad investments, they felt like. So come along, Capcom was like, well, if you're gonna go ahead and want to do this Mega Man 2, we got other projects we need you working on. You can do that, but you're doing that on your own time. So you could really tell that there was a certain amount of effort put into the control of your character. Mega Man 1, as much as some people who played enough times really start to get good at controlling the character, but Mega Man 2 made it so much easier in the classic games to control your unit, your robot, or really an android. And one of the aspects I really love of the mechanics, of the physics of the game, is how much you can control the jump height. You can do quite a ranging variety of jumps based off of how much pressure that you are putting on the jump button. And again, another NES game, right? We got our jumps, we got our shoot, obviously left and right, and that's pretty much it. The only other time that you're gonna hit any other button would be start to go ahead and get into your menu. You want to get into your menu so you can switch to different items. When you beat a robot master, you'd be able to claim a new item.
I did not know that the first Mega Man did not do well. I didn't know that.
It did well in Japan. because Japan does like difficult games.
Mhm.
Japan has, for the most part, does not mind taking on difficult games. It's almost like an honor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's been like that for a very long time. So when Mega Man 2 came around, they kept this in mind and they decided, you know what? These Americans, for some reason, don't like the really hard games. We're going to give them two options. And that's where normal and difficult came into play. And so normal is what a lot of us played on because it was a little bit easier than playing it on difficult, which is how it was intended to be played from the get-go. And so that was a big difference for that Mega Man 2 aspect versus Mega Man 1, which really started to pull a ton of people right back into the series and saved it. Mega Man 2, if Mega Man 2 didn't come around the way that it did, I don't know if Mega Man would even be the IP that it is today.
What? See, I didn't know that because, like, I always assumed, like, we got the harder games because they always said, oh, they made the games for the rental market here, you know? So I didn't know that that's, like, what almost could have, like, killed the series. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And we'll eventually transition into this for our next topic, which will be the art, but also the box art was very confusing. So they had to do quite a few different things. And thankfully, they first started with not just the fact that, okay, does it visually look appealing? Does the music sound really good? Which a lot of us know Mega Man 2 music is just top tier for NES titles. They had to make sure the game played well.
Yeah.
So now, with that being said, another aspect of it, and now a lot of people who play this casually might not notice this just because there wouldn't be a need for them to take advantage of this. But as a speedrunner, there are certain sections in the game because Mega Man 2 does a lot of good jobs of not just going up in levels and left and right, but also lets you drop down in levels that aren't, game over pits or, death pits, but they're part of the routing. And if you do not touch anything as you're falling, you actually continue to build up speed. And eventually, because of this title, more and more and more Capcom games added this to their thing that if you drop for a longer period of time, you're going to pick up more and more fall velocity, as they call it.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yo, there's like actual science in Mega Man?
Actual science. That's why I wanted to definitely talk about this aspect of it before we really start going on the other stuff, is that there's an actual science to it that the further you drop, the more and more speed that you'll be building up, and numerous other titles after this one incorporate that to wild success. Yep.
Wow. And see, that's the funny thing is like what always kept me away from playing Mega Man games was like how difficult it was. Because I was always like, I'm not gonna play this. It's gonna be too hard for me. Especially when I was a kid, I was like, there's no way I could ever beat a Mega Man game. And then I was like, I'm gonna try it. And it's funny because Son Goku even said in the chat right now, they were like, after hearing Jen, I'm gonna go play it now,
Perfect. Yes. Good. Because now we want to talk about the art, which will be the game, the ads, the box art itself.
The thing that always is the first thing I think about whenever I think about the art of Wizards and Warriors is the cover art. And I'll show like the box here on my camera. The cover art has always fascinated me. What I didn't know until I did research for this game is that the cover art for the Japanese version is completely different. Like, I don't even know why I didn't even think the Japanese box art and the American box art usually is different. But when I looked it up, I was like, this one is really, really different. But the American box art, well, first of all, I don't recall when the game came out in Japan, but in the United States, this game came out in 1987, I want to say. Let me just double check.
Yeah,
here.
That sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah, 1987. Yeah. And it came out in Europe in 1990. I don't even know if the box art in Europe is different. Also, the game in Japan, being that the box art is different, is also called, I think it's like The Legend of Elron or something like that. I feel
really?
Yeah. And what I didn't also realize is in researching this game that there's so many ties to like King Arthur and Merlin and like, Knights of the Round and yeah, Excalibur and all that stuff. I didn't realize that there were so many ties to that with this game. Yeah. So like whenever I think of this game and the artwork, I always think of this box art and the artwork for the poster, which is usually this box art. Now, Wizards and Warriors 2, I want to just talk on just for 1 second because Fabio's on the box. And
Yes.
that is
Yes.
always like the most well-known thing about this series is that Fabio is on the box art for what they call, it's called, I think it's called Iron Sword. It's not even called Wizards and Warriors. It's called Iron Sword 2 Wizards and Warriors.
Exactly. It was a weird thing that they decided to call it that. I remember that big time.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just, well, first of all, let's just talk about how awesome the art style is. So what really piqued my interest in the way that the box art is, so there's these colors, there's purple, blue, gold, and yellow, kind of. But that art is like like you could even see here on the map. Those colors, those 4 colors, like the cyan, the purple, the pink, and the red, those are like repeated in a lot of the things. So like the keys, which when I was doing the research for this, I didn't even as a kid, I always thought that the potion was the pink potion, because there's the pink potion, the blue potion, and the red potion. But in the booklet, when I was doing the research, it said that that's a purple potion. And I was like, man, my whole life, I've been lying to myself.
I've been lied to this whole time.
Yeah. So those colors, it's like the cyan, like that blue, that purple, the red, and then I feel like gray and are like the most like the most primary colors that you'll see here. Like you'll see them here, like in this cave right here, like that pink and that purple stand out, but then that gray of the soldier, like the knight, like is what pops out because it's such a stark contrast from the rest. So like the environments are super colorful, but he is like gray, you know? And I think that usually you'd be like, oh, gray is like a muted tone or whatever. Like it wouldn't normally stand out, but here it does. So there's that. The art of the book. I want to see if I could actually pull this up so I can show it to you now. All right, so here, look at the artwork for some of these enemies here. It's really, really cool. I love all of this original sketches and original art for this game. And when I was
cover me up.
I wish I had this book as a kid because I totally would have been like copying the artwork to draw from this book the whole time as I was a kid. Like I really love the enemies here. Like you can see, like you'll get a sense of, okay, these are some of the this was that
There
boss,
he
the
is.
rock face. See, because I was like,
Rock
I
face.
didn't even know who he was until I looked this up in the book. The demon skull, the rock face, the eagle, the snake, like there's so much cool artwork. And now I can show you like the close-up of the box art. This is the box art. I think this is like the key art that they use in everything, because whenever I looked up this game, I couldn't find any other artwork pretty much for this game other than this one, other than that main artwork. And the map seems to be the general art that they always show for this game. But yeah, like there's all like the potions and the doors and the keys. Like this is all really, really cool. I wish I saw
have
this as a
literal
kid.
goosebumps right now from it. It's so cool. It's so nostalgic of you showcasing this manual right now.
Instruction manual is so great. I feel like that's a cool thing to do, like especially when you're looking at like a game, because in looking at this manual, I learned a lot about the lore, which I didn't even know that this game had lore. So it was really, really, really cool to like find out like, oh wait, I can look this stuff up and then like access it, and it's there for all of us to take a look at. So
Yeah.
there's the artwork for that.
All right, folks. So Mega Man 2, I'll go ahead and show the box art of it. Reason why is this is the last edition before they decide to finally, like, let's get some dust off here. Goodness gracious. You all want to see the dust, right? That's the best part of all these games.
Yeah,
The dust on the
exactly.
cover. Show you it's vintage. All right, let's get the light.
Just
Not
don't
so-
blow into the cartridge.
Yeah, don't do that. As much as it seems like it's the right thing to do. So this is the last time. Sorry, I'm probably pretty loud because I'm leaning forward. This is the last time they use these awkward, ambiguous titles or these scenes. Eventually, after this one, starting with Mega Man 3, they finally decide to make it look like the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone remembers Mega Man 1, that cover art was terrible for the actual game. It looked nothing like Mega Man. And just like this one, because what happens is what they did back then is they would outsource the artists. So the artists had no clue what the game actually looked like.
Wow.
Since they don't really know what the game looks like, they're given an idea. They got a little bit like, oh, okay, he wears this blue armor. But as you can tell right here, he's holding a gun. No, like why?
Like he's holding a gun and he has hands? Oh my God.
What's happening? That's not Mega Man. So with this one, this is the last one where the box art really does not accurately describe what you're going to see on it. But what was really cool that they did with the art of this game, which actually leads to the reason why the speedrun aspect of it is so there's so many glitches that they can break the game with, is they were able to take so much information. Like there's actually too much information on the cartridge than can be played at one time. So what they had to do was they had to layer and layer and layer their levels so that way they could take advantage of the space and the game could still run smoothly.
What?
Yeah. And so for the way for that to happen is that's why there's lots of times where there'll be out of bounds scenarios that you're like, how can they go ahead and do these weird little tricks and whatnot?
Yeah.
It's because it's actually every scene for each level is stacked on top of itself.
What?
Even though it looks like they're going different places, right? It's actually stacked on top. And that's how they could save space and get the most out of it, because they went balls to the wall with the music, which we'll talk about later. Right. But that way they could fit that, because these are 8-bit games, right?
Yeah. Which
also lets you know how much can they even store on these minimal size storage spaces for information.
Yeah.
And those little aspects to it really makes a huge appreciation for the genius game design, just like Yura is saying right now.
Yep.
Things like once another game, Mega Man 3, later on, they also try to do a little bit too much with it.
Yeah.
And the music actually starts to slow down the game. For a casual player, you might not notice it. But in the speed run, there'll be a couple of times they intentionally do a glitch to break the game's music, so the music stops playing and the game runs smoothly.
What? I was just gonna say, how would something like that affect speedrunning, especially since you speedrun this game quite often?
Right.
That is incredible.
In Mega Man 2, they thankfully they optimized it well enough that was not the case. But in Mega Man 3, they got a bit more of a budget. They also this is going to be a title because, oh, Mega Man 2 did amazing. Good job, boys. Yeah. They tried to do a little bit too much. It was still great. It was awesome. A lot of people, that's probably one of their favorite of the classic titles is Mega Man 3. Mm-hmm. But in the speedrun sense, there's extra lag on there because they try to do too much for a scene, because the music, again, that was one of the things that this series did a really good job was kept on trying to bring more and more to the music side. But again, let's go back to the art here. So for the art, every single one of these bosses, if you didn't know about this game has a total of 14 levels. 8 of those levels are dedicated to the 8 robot masters that you will fight. Those robot masters were controlled by Dr. Wily. Then once you've beaten it, like in most of the Mega Man games, the classic ones, that is, because once you get to the X series, it's a whole different storyline. But for the Mega Man series, is that once you beat the Robot Masters, you're going to have to take on Wily's Castle, or something that eventually might lead you to Wily's Castle. The differences for each and every single boss were dedicated to an individual developer. One of the bosses was actually a fan submission. 8,370 different submissions were put into this boss character, and the boss character that actually made it through for it was Is it gonna tell me? Did I make sure to write that down? I didn't write that down? Really? Well, that's a point.
No, you know what I really love about the bosses in this game, and this is okay. I went to school for art, right? I went and I studied illustration and graphic design and stuff like that. And one thing that is really incredible to me whenever you're doing character design, something that they teach you to do in the beginning is to silhouette your character. So when you silhouette your character, that means, you're shading your color in all black. And the reason why that's important is because of the shapes. And you want to see how the character forms a shape. And the reason why that's important is for recognition. So if you have a character that has like multiple shapes and none of them kind of connect and they don't really, have what they call a gestalt or like a harmony together, then it might be jarring and it might not be memorable. It's confusing design. And the thing that I really love about all of the design of the Mega Man series, including like the bosses and Mega Man himself, Dr. Wily, is that you know the shapes as soon as you see it. And in fact, a lot of the bosses, like you'll recognize right away just by the shape of who they are, because it's also replicated in what they represent. Like Leaf Man has like a leaf, and Wood Man looks like a log of wood, or yes. Cut Man has whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? So that to me was always a really particularly interesting part of the design aspect of Mega Man.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because one of the things that it was so funny to bring up in the chat is that a lot of people don't realize Heat Man was actually, he's the shape of a big lighter.
What? See, I didn't even realize that.
Or excuse me, not a Zippo. I said big. A Zippo lighter, and that's the reason why you see him charge up. That's why he's the one character who can charge up, because most of the time when people are using a Zippo, it takes more than one click to actually turn it on.
Oh, dip!
Strong flame. That's why they did it the way that they did it.
Yo, that's like big brain, man.
Yeah, way too big brain. So as kids, I was like, oh, this is cool. But to learn that, it's like, oh, well, that is really neat.
Yeah. Oh my God, you know what I just realized just by looking at this video? So Mega Man just attacked like that dog dude, right? This dog enemy. And Mega Man 3 has the cat with the fleas.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the name of that dog right there is actually Hot Dog.
No way.
100%, that is the name of that enemy right there. It's called Hot Dog because it breathes fire, which is pretty hot, and it's a dog.
Wow. That is really awesome. And I just, you know what? I also want to call out here, I really love the color palettes in Mega Man. Like, that's one of my favorite things. I don't know why, as a kid, like, I always loved the idea of, like, pixel swap, like, color swapping with enemies. So, like, you could have the same enemies, but in, like, multiple colors and stuff. I don't know why that's always fascinating to me, but it is, because I'm a nerd.
I agree with you on that. And I like it when it's done, like, there's a good blend of a little bit of that, as long as that's not the only thing that a company or a dev group will use to distinguish a difference in an enemy. But every now and then you're like, oh, okay, cool, I like this. It's like it feels different because it is a different color for this enemy.
Yeah.
There's some games where they only have one boss, and the only way you can tell it's a different boss is there's 10 different shades of that boss, and you're like, oh, shucks.
Right. I think in my like little kid brain, it helped me compartmentalize. Okay, blue is the weak one, red is the strong one, yellow is like the really strong one. You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's really cool. Is there anything else you want to add about art for this awesomely art? Oh, I did want to say one thing about the box art too.
Yeah,
like,
please.
Because I did, obviously Mega Man 1 is really super well known for like the janky box art. And I didn't know that they went away from that starting after Mega Man 2. I did not know that.
Let me grab some of these examples. I just have to reach for them. Because, I made sure to think about it and have it 100% ready, right?
Because I kind of sort of thought that they went back to like the janky art box in like Mega Man 11.
Yep, totally.
But they did that in, like, it was like tongue in cheek, like they did that on purpose.
So here's Mega Man 3.
Oh, he has the Buster.
That looks like Mega Man.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally Mega Man right there.
Gotcha.
While Mega Man 1, I mean, he's not even blue. He's got this whole silver setup going on his helmet. His armor only kind of covers some of his body, not like, it's very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different. Like you're talking about before, being able to compartmentalize, a recognition, it definitely created that dissonance, and that dissonance was enough to affect the American market at that point in time.